was a child of God and I'm a Christian and I was saved, there are still things that once you've been through a traumatic situation, you need to sit down with somebody and talk about those things so that you can start, like you said earlier, that healing process. Because if you don't get that healing process, then you're going to try to deal with this yourself.
Yeah, and you're not equipped because you weren't raised right. It's a double-edged sword. It's like, first of all, you've got all this trauma in your life, and secondly, you're not equipped to deal with it because you weren't raised right.
Yeah, it's like a drowning man drowning, and you tell him to save himself. He's like, "Well, I'm drowning. How am I going to save myself?
Swim.
If I knew how to swim, I can save myself. But I need somebody to throw me a life preserver." And I just didn't know how to get that life preserver. And then the people I would trust along my journey, I would tell them a little bit about myself. But then you would find that those people would, in a way, use it against you. Yeah. You tell them about, hey, listen, especially in relationships, you would tell people, say, listen, I come from this environment. It was not good, so I really don't like nobody hollering at me. If you're a woman that likes to scream and holler, I'm going to tell you, I'm the type of guy that's going to be like, one day you're going to come home and I'm going to be gone. Yeah. I done packed up and gone because I just can't deal with that. And I just don't want to deal with that. I don't want to have that type of household. I would rather live by myself than have to come home with somebody that's not happy with me, that now wants to holler and scream at me, even if I'm guilty.
Right. But that's just normal, though. That's just a normal thing.
Yeah.
And that's what you can't see when you're in that situation because nothing feels normal. You have no idea what normal is, and all you see is people who you think are succeeding, who think have it together. It's like, no, everyone's struggling. Everyone has problems. Yeah. Everyone, gets depressed. Everyone messes up.
Especially talented people. Yeah. Talented people, and we're going to have all of this on the show, which is so great. Talented people and what we call pretty people or beautiful people are some of the most loneliest people on the planet because people really don't understand them. People think because of how you look, excuse me, y'all, I'm burping because this man gave me this. What is this we're drinking? La Croix.
I think it's cran raspberry.
It's supposed to be a water, but it's carbonated, and my body is not used to carbonation, but I'm drinking it anyway because I was thirsty. So you just do the best of what you have. But people think just because of how you look. Yeah, he didn't offer me just no.
Until I press record.
Yeah, some plain. Yeah, this is what I'm drinking before this. So now you're getting that's that Southern thing. I guess you can burp and people think that's a compliment. Oh, this is really good. No, but you would think, and people have this perception that just because somebody's beautiful or that they're talented or that they're successful, that they got it going on, and they don't.
Yeah.
Because a lot of us are some of the loneliest people in the world because people really don't get us. Because like I was saying earlier, we're just different. We don't see things alike. And pretty people really suffer because when you see a beautiful woman or a handsome man, most people think already they got somebody. Somebody's with them because there's no way you can look like that and be like that and not have a whole lot of women or men after you. And it's far from the truth in most cases. So those people suffer in silence a lot.
Well, they just get othered. It's just like...
Yeah.
They're not one of us, so to speak. It's like, someone who's super talented, super famous, super beautiful, whatever, in those extremes of what we hold valuable in society, at those extremes, the people become othered. And it's almost like what we were just talking about at the beginning of the podcast, where people that make those snap judgments on you based on whatever their eyes tell them is happening in front of their face.
Right, absolutely. And that is something that we as a society, we as a people, really should focus on. And Dr. King brought that up long. Don't judge me by the color of my skin, but by the content of my character.
Yeah.
And you can only really know somebody if you spend some time talking to them, having some meaningful conversations with them. Then you can really understand somebody. But before then, don't just go by outward appearance on certain people because, you see all of these successful people in life and people that you think are rich and they wind up killing each other, themselves, not each other, but themselves. I was watching where Chris Farley and the Jim Belushis of the world and all these people successful, but they felt alone. They felt alone. And so what they do, they turn to drugs and alcohol and all these other things and they wind up killing themselves. Even Michael Jackson, you figured.
I think that he must have been the loneliest person to ever live.
Yeah. And all he sung about was love and acceptance. And people have to understand when that's all you're singing about is because that's what you're missing. And I don't think people grab that. They figure, oh, he's Michael Jackson. He gets all the attention in the world. But attention, it's not always good. You want good attention from people, that has good intentions for you. And all attention is not good attention. And I think he was extremely lonely. The way he grew up and how he lived his life and how he would change himself. Those are all signs, for us. But because he was Michael Jackson and powerful and rich, and we kind of let that thing slide. And then when Prince dies, we're all like, oh my goodness, what's going on? Luther Vandross, Whitney Houston. It's like, oh my goodness. All of these successful, wonderful people, as far as we knew, wonderful people, all wind up perishing at early ages. My mom didn't make it out of her 30s. My dad didn't make it out of his 40s. Wow. And I'm blessed to be sitting here in my 50s, even though I lost 2 brothers. So it's one of those things where you really can't tell anything about somebody from the outward appearance. You really can't. Even when you do these parades, because San Francisco is known for parades, a lot of that is just show.
Yeah, it's signaling. For sure.
Yeah, it's just a show. When you see people dressed a certain way and they got all these and how they these things that they do in the public, it's really not telling you a lot about them. It's telling you about what they're going through, how they're suffering.
Yeah, or what they want to be aligned with, and what their tribe is, or what
identity quest.
Yeah.
We all want to fit in somewhere.
Yeah,
we all want to sit.
It's human nature since we evolved in the savannas of Africa.
Yeah.
The worst place to be was outside of the group.
Oh yeah, never want to be outside. It's like a sheep outside of the fold. Here come the wolves, and you never want to be out there by yourself. So we all need somebody in our corner. We all need somebody that understands us. That so in those moments where we get quiet, and I tell people about me when I get quiet, that's the worst time. That's the worst time for me when I get quiet. So because now I'm thinking of my past and what I've been through, because you brought me there. Something you might have said or done or neglected me in some type of way. So now I'm thinking about my past to where I'm like, okay, here it comes again, the same old stuff. And so now I'm just ready to go. I'm ready to go on about my business now. So we have to really, in relationships and in family, and if you really love somebody, please take the time to understand them, or do your best to try to understand them. Because I tell ladies this all the time, especially with men, because they say how men don't talk and how we don't communicate as well as women do. And we don't. We don't do a lot of talking. But I would always tell people, but when your man does talk, and he talks about his past, make sure you're paying attention. Yeah. Because he's going to tell you some things. He's going to reveal some things to you. And now he's saying, I trust you to know this. Because men don't have these outlets of communication. It's
very vulnerable.
Yeah, and when he allows himself to go there, make sure you take notes on what he's telling you. Because he's revealing some things to you, and he's letting you know this is kind of like boundaries that I have, and I'm sharing them with you. And those things are important.
Yeah. Do you ever foresee a time, Noel, where you can kind of supersede that in yourself, where that you can become kind of unshackled from your past, or do you feel like the past is always there and the only thing is the distance in time?
That is an awesome question, and I've thought about that so many times. Is there a point of liberation from that, from your past, and in all my years, I think the only thing that could help you in that area is when you are doing what you really want to do in life. And I'm fortunate right now to be doing what I really want to do in life, to do this show, to write these scripts that I'm writing, to bring forth my pain, so to speak. I think that can help you. As far as being truly liberated from it, for me, and I'm just talking for me, I don't think I ever will be. Because it's kind of like a part of who I am. I'm still on a quest of self-discovery. I think there's really no limits to what I can do creatively, inspirationally. I think there's no limits to what I can do. The problem that I have is that having people accept you for who you are and not try to box you or categorize you or think that they got you figured out type of thing. Yeah. And that's where for me it goes, no, because it's kind of like with a lot of us that are kind of like with your podcast, there's so many layers to you.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't understand that. Hopefully your wife does. She gets you.
Yeah.
But does everybody get you? People that know you get you? No. Because they really don't know. They only know what you let them see. And so for me, since I've lived a life of only letting people see what I wanted them to see, it has kind of like separated me and put me off in a different area, in a different dynamic. And I tell people, I say, even with work and having jobs and things, which is a wonderful thing. If you have a job, that's fine. If you have a career, that's even better. And some of us are just meant to be tent dwellers. A lot of us are not meant to just stay in one area.
Yep.
And I've been so blessed that, like I say, I grew up down in Louisiana. I was a paper boy. Then I worked at Jack in the Box. Then I worked at a gas station. Then I was in the Air Force as an aircraft mechanic. Then I'm in the Army as a medic. I worked at a place called Intermag. They used to make those floppy disks.
Yeah.
I was a manager at a Taco Bell. I was with the post office. I started off as to do 30 days there, and then I performed so well, which I always do. I'm always a great performer.
Yeah.
You put me in any job.
That strikes me as a true statement.
Yeah. You put me in any job, I'm going to be the best one on the job. At some point, and it's not a competitional thing with me. It's just that I was raised a certain way.
Yeah.
We were never raised to be followers.
Yeah.
You had to lead in everything,
Yep.
which made it really rough on us because you couldn't be like other kids. You couldn't do what other kids. The other kids bought a B home. Their parents ecstatic.
Yeah.
We bought a B home. That just means baseball bat.
Yeah.
That's all that B meant to my people. That was a baseball bat. You about to get beat down. So it was just different, and that has kind of like stayed with me my whole life. It's always excelling, always doing my best, and putting out the best product. And I used to tell people this: I don't care how you're doing something. There's always a better way of doing it.
For sure.
So that's always my mindset. No matter what I'm doing, I'm always thinking, there's a better way of doing this job.
Yeah.
There's a better way to reach this goal.
Being self-critical and being able to be honest with yourself. There's a difference between being self-critical and being honest
or
with
self-loathing.
yourself. Yeah. But that's a really important trait as far as growth and as far as, I kind of think almost like what you would call real happiness there.
Yeah.
I mean,
which is relative.
Yeah. Yeah.
Happiness
it always
relative.
Changes, right?
It could change in a moment.
Happiness could be a cheeseburger one day, and then the next day it's this, a Hawaiian vacation or something.
Absolutely. I tell people I would rather be comfortable than happy.
Bob Dylan said, happy is a yuppie word.
Yeah.
There's either blessed or not blessed.
There you go. And that's what I would prefer to be, to have purpose in one's life. Because purpose will carry you through hard times. Because you got a goal. You got your mindset. You already know where you're heading, and you already done figured out, listen, in order for me to achieve this goal, I'm going to have to go through some storms.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to go through some changes. I'm going to meet people that's going to like me, people that's not going to like me. But I've learned to see people as kind of like signs along the highway. Merge, get off, So some people are in your life just for a short time, and that's where I think a lot of us fail, or a lot of us get stuck, because just because you meet somebody don't mean they're going to be in your life a long period of time. Some people are just to help you get from point A to point B.
Yep.
And I had a preacher friend of mine. I told him years ago. I said, "Man, the people you know now, and the people you meet along the way, will not necessarily be with you when you reach your destination.
Yeah.
But they are just to help you get there. And sometimes we try to hold on to people, and they're preventing you from getting to your next destination because you're trying to stay here in this moment with this person.
Yep.
When God is saying, no, I just have them there to help you to get to the next point. And I found even with myself that since I didn't have mom and since I didn't have dad, I would like try to hold on to people, and then when things didn't work out, I never really blamed it on them. I knew it was just me, because I shouldn't have never stopped there and stayed that long to begin with, because I'm not the healthiest person in the world at this point that you want to be hanging around with. Yeah, I'm a nice guy. You think I'm sweet and loving and kind and all that. But some of us are just, like passing street lights, I'm just a destination, a point to a destination. And that's what I think helps me out a lot, to come to that realization to myself, like, Noel, you're just not good for everybody, just like everybody's not good for you. But you have to recognize that yourself and stop waiting for something tragic to happen before you go on about your business. And that's what I think a lot of us do. We wait till a big argument. Yeah, and we waiting and waiting instead of going, let's be honest, when it's time for me to move on.
You talked two things that I'd like to circle back to. One, you said right now you're really blessed because you have a, I don't know if you said job, but you have something in your life. You're doing doing what you want to do.
Right.
And then you also talked about purpose.
Yeah.
And I couldn't agree with you more that if you're doing what you want to do, you have that purpose.
Yeah.
There's no way that it's just the best thing in the world, and that's what
it's a different
all
level.
Human beings need to be that way. And I think that's why we see a lot of misery in the world right now. There's a lot of purposelessness, a lot of cynicism, and most people aren't doing the things that they really want to do.
What they were made to do. You have to do what you were created to do, and that's that self-discovery thing. And hopefully you'll meet some people along the way on your path. Which is one of the beautifulness. And you're a dad, so you're going to know what I'm talking about. One of the most beautiful things about being a dad or a parent or a mom is watching your child, watching them grow, and seeing what they're good at, and then leading them down that path. Even when I keep going back to certain people we brought, like with the Whitney Houston story, when you see her story, how her mom and them knew this girl was going to be a singer, and they led her down that path. Even if you get into some of the other areas like Mike Tyson, they just knew. So it's good when people recognize, when you have some people in your life that can recognize what you're good at and then help you to go down that area. It's okay if you wind up being a janitor or whatever you wind up being in life, but always know what you're good at, because that's your purpose. All of these other things, like some jobs we have, just help you with your purpose. It helps to pay the bills to reach your purpose. It's like a lot of painters, like my youngest daughter, she loves to paint. She's an artist. And I remember when she was talking about going to college, one of the conversations I had to have with her, because she's like, well, I want to be an artist. I'm like, okay, how are you going to fund it? Because an artist, you got to have something that's going to fund that. So they want you to go to school to be a doctor. Why don't you do that? That'll help you fund your art. And so we have to understand that some of the things we're doing now are just helping us to reach our destination and help us get to our purpose. But never let your job, so to speak, stop you from reaching your purpose. And I'm so blessed now that I'm at a place now to where I can do what I want to do. I'm doing what I want to do, but I have purpose behind it. And even when in doing the Uncle No Show, the purpose even in that, and this is what I told my cast and my crew, and this is true. I want to introduce the world to who we are as a people. Because one of the things that I've seen when they have all of these conversations, when they want to talk about, we need to talk about racism and all of these things, I'm like, yeah, but it seems like all they do is talk about it.
Yeah.
But nobody actually comes to a resolution. Because they say this talk is just going to lead to another talk. And we've been talking for 400 years now. So my thing is, with the Uncle No Show, and the purpose behind it is that I want to introduce people to who we really are as a people. The Bill Cosby thing was cool, but that wasn't really who we really are as a black people. And now we got Blackish on TV and all these shows, but they really because they're connected to agencies that censor them and what they can and cannot do and cannot say. We wanted to take this opportunity to present people how we really are, because we're all God's people, yes, but we see things a little differently. And black people, we just see things a little differently than white people. And I was telling somebody this story. Give you a great example how we see things differently. I went to do this concert. I don't want to say her name. Can we say people's names on here without them getting mad at us? But
sometimes.
Yeah. Awesome artist. She was at San Jose. Awesome, big time artist. A woman I never thought I would see live perform on stage. I got to see her. I was working the event. And I got to watch her for a little while, and it was like 10 o'clock. And I said, okay, I got to see this artist. This is awesome, but I'm going home. Now, I knew that not one black guy had bought a ticket to come see this show, right? 55,000 people in the stadium, not one black guy. I work in the event, so I know, right? And I'm leaving this event. I got on black pants, black t-shirt, black tennis shoes, a black hat, and I'm leaving this all-white concert. And I'm walking out and I'm going, oh my goodness, this is not good. Because I'm walking out and I'm seeing all these cops and I'm going, oh, here it goes. Here's a black man. And I know all of these cops are thinking, black guys came to see this concert. What's up with this guy? So I'm walking out of this concert and I see these cops right in front of me. And this is what's on my mind. This is what I'm thinking. I'm like, oh, man, I got to get past these cops. And I was so blessed because I walked past them and the cops act like they didn't even see me. I just walked past. I'm like, wow, that was so cool, to be in that situation and to walk past and they don't even recognize me. And people are like, wait a minute. You mean to tell me when you're leaving a concert, instead of you thinking that was good to see that, you're thinking of whether or not you're going to make it past these cops? And I'm like, yeah.
I'll counter your example with one of my own because you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
I was telling a friend the other day, I was a pretty rebellious child because of what I went through.
Right.
And when I was, I want to say I was a senior in high school, I was pretty much out of control at this point. I came home whenever I wanted,
right.
Didn't do, basically.
That's white privilege right there, bro. Y'all get to come home whenever you want to.
Well, by this point, my parents were just like, who cares? We don't care about you, you know, whatever. And
that's right.
Me and my friends, we were driving on this country road. We had all taken acid, and deer had crossed the road, and so we just stood there.
Right.
You just get an appreciation when you're on LSD for the wonder of the earth,
Right.
And we saw these deer, and we're just like, oh my God, I'm a deer hunter.
Right.
I've been out in the woods, hunted deer, seen deer all my life, but I just saw them that way, right? And so then the deer cross the road, they go up the hill, you can just kind of barely see them, and then who comes down the road? Police officer.
Oh, Lord.
He stops, he peeks his head in the car. This guy just impounded my car 4 days ago.
Right.
I'm tripping on acid. I have an open beer, and from the passenger seat of a crowded car with kids and alcohol and LSD, I talk our way out of this.
Wow.
Just talking to the guy, hey man, oh yeah, you impounded my car, man. Hey, that wasn't cool, whatever. And then he's like, what are you guys doing? Oh, there's some deer up there. And he goes, shines his light, and his doe pops her head over the ridge, and you see the reflected light. And then he's like, oh, and I could see him. I was so connected in that moment that I could see him, and I was like, just told him everything he wanted to hear, and then
he saw the evidence.
Yeah. No, he just let us go. And and that kind of thing, I know that if I had more melanin in my skin, that would never happen.
No,
that would never happen.
Never went that way. And kids, what you just heard, don't you ever do. If you're on LSD and see deer crossing the road, you don't know if you're hallucinating or not. And then the cops show up. Now, see, that's the perfect example of white privilege right there. You're on the LSD, you're tripping, you got an open container of alcohol in the car. The cop...
And we're all underage.
You're all underage, and the cop pokes his head in the car, sees the deer, and go, oh, okay, I get it. Yeah, you're right. If you was a brother, that would have been something totally different. Especially nowadays, man. It done got crazy with this, with police officers. And here, and let me say this. Let me get out the disclaimer. My older brother, Joe, is a retired police officer. I think he did 30-something years down in New Orleans. And he had to go through some things with that department and some corruption that other cops was doing down there. And thank God my brother kept himself clear of that. Yeah. But in that, you learn a lot that when you think about corruption in the police departments, people have to understand that's some real stuff. That's some real stuff. Look at your job and where you work. There's like one or two people there where you go, how in the hell did you get this job? Yeah. Something's wrong with you. And what's happening, I think, with the police force nowadays is that in their recruiting process, they're looking for a specific type of officer. And majority of them are godless. And I ain't talking about you guys that work on the force where you are Christian. I'm not talking about you. But I've even put this to the test. I got pulled over not too long ago by a highway patrolman. And after he got through doing what he wanted to do, I said, can I ask you a question? He goes, yeah. I said, are you saved? Are you a Christian? He goes, no. You see? And this is what a lot of us don't understand. We're dealing with people that, in some cases, where some of us, because of our connection with God, have limitations. There's only so far we will go. There's only so much we will do. Even for me, coming from my background, being brutalized, I have a limit to how far I would go. There's just certain things Noel is just not doing. Yeah. Pull the car over, let me out. If that's what y'all about to do, let me out, because I have limitations. And some people don't have those limitations. So it's easier for them to pull out a gun and shoot somebody and go to work the next day like, hey, I had to shoot him. It's like, wait a minute, you just murdered a human life. Yeah. And how do you just function the next day like nothing ever happened? And that's what's going on. We just have some people, and I'm not talking about everybody, but there are just some people that have that ability to do that, to point a gun at you and pull the trigger and unload a weapon on you, and then come to find out, well, all this person had was the color of their skin, or they were holding a cell phone, or they tried to run away, or they were selling a CD, or they were a little kid walking through the park with a play gun, and it's like, wow, how do these things happen? And that's one of the things that we want to do in the show, is that we want to present to the world and to us as a people. The better you understand a person, the more you can get along with them or walk with them. Even the Bible says, unless two agree, how can they walk together?
We start to see them as human.
Yeah, and there you go. So we got to stop with seeing somebody as strictly color. Don't get me wrong. I love for you to see me the color that I am. That's the dynamic of who we are as a people. Being brown skinned or darker or white or whatever. That's a beautiful thing. That's the rainbow of life. That's awesome. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you take that to think that you're superior than somebody else because of your skin color is different from theirs, that's where the problem lies. We need to celebrate that and not try to separate that and make it seem like, oh, you're taking something from me, and I know it's you because you look just like that person that took something from it.
Yeah.
When I have nothing to do with that.
Yeah, inferring some sort of personal meaning in another person based on just superficial.
Yeah. It's some of the craziest stuff, like slavery. It's like, really? The slaves weren't really the slaves. It was the people that enslaved them.
When I saw that video, did you see that video recently in Libya, where they were taking like the migrant African work? Well, they're all Africans.
Yeah.
In Libya, but they were selling them off as slaves, and
yeah.
I was just like, I just couldn't believe that this was 2018, and I was like, it's such a barbaric thing, and I often wonder what was going through so we look back at our history and say, hey, there were some good things that they set up for us, but then they also did this other thing. It's like, how did they, you're talking about the policemen who shoot people. It's like, how did they go to sleep at night,
right?
Knowing that they had people as their personal property. Right,
and even when you look back in the '60s, with the 50s into the '60s, with the rise of the civil rights movement and how they used the police officers, to counteract that, and the FBI to counteract that. So it became a kind of a makeup. It molded them into this mindset that police officers are not men and women anymore. That once they put on that uniform, they become this robotic type of person that's going to do, if the governor say go in there and get those people and kill them off, they're going to go in there and do it.
Just following orders.
They're just following orders, And even when I know when I joined the military, you had to follow orders.
Yeah.
But my thing was you had confidence in the ones that were giving you orders, because if you didn't, those of us that hang rank would be pulling that person to the side going, hey man, what's up with this? You sure this is what we're supposed to be doing? And some of us were smart enough to know what the rules were to begin with, to where you can question authority. You can question and go, hey, that's not right for us to do. We can't do that type of thing. Because according to the Geneva Convention or whatever the rule may be, we're not allowed to do that. But if you don't know, and you're just going to do what you're told to do, or somebody gives you an order to do it, and you just do it, and you're going to blame and say, and your outlet is, hey, I was ordered to do it, or, it's okay for me to do it. That kind of stuff. There's no personal accountability, because it's so easy when you can blame it on somebody else. Yeah.
Personal
and I would love officers that will take personal accountability for their actions. But it's hard for them to do it because they all wear that uniform. And if one officer see another officer doing something that they're not supposed to be doing, they don't want to be a snitch. They don't want to have to tell because then they got to live their life watching their back. Because my brother had to do that. He had to watch his back because he wouldn't go along with the game. And I remember him for years, if he called for backup, nobody would show up. So it's that culture that we need to change in that department. And that's not just the police office in the police department, but in a lot of cultures we have to change that, that good old boy network and like what the women are arguing about now. I still can't believe that you can have a male firefighter and a female firefighter and they get two different wages. I don't get that. I really don't. I can't believe it. Like, wow, wait a minute, you're a firefighter, right? You're a firefighter. But how do you get paid two different? I don't know how that works because you figure there's a pay scale or rate to this is how you get this and this is how you get to this level. So how are you going to hire two, but you're going to pay one less than the other one?
Well, I think there's a lot of systemic things there to unpack as far as all the gaps in our society, like
and they still exist.
They still exist, and I'm hoping I might do my small part with this podcast of just having people on and talking, exposing people to different ideas and different viewpoints.
Yeah, I listened to some of your shows. It's really informative. It's really good. I was listening to the three ladies you had on your last podcast and how their different perspective on things and how they see things. And it's broadcast like this, that where you can just be real and say what you want to say what you want to say, and it's not scripted.
Yeah.
And you're just coming off the top of your head and right out of your heart.
Yeah.
That's like you said. I think that means the most to people. That's what people want to hear. Just be real with me.
Yeah, there's a real thirst I find, which is why I started doing this podcast in the first place, for people hearing real talk, real conversation, for people hashing out ideas and getting different points of view, because everything we see now, Noel, is like a soundbite. It's a swipe up. It's a thumb swipe up.
Everybody want to be clever,
or cynical or snarky, and that's not really the way things are. Like we say, we've kind of trampled all over the things tonight. Yeah,
everything is a cliche
of just knee-jerk reactions.
Yeah,
of whatever stripe it is.
Yeah.
It's a lot harder to sit here and have this conversation with you.
Yeah.
It's a lot harder for me to dislike you or to judge you or to think that you're, just some black guy or whatever.
Right.
Now that I sit down, we're breaking bread in a metaphorical way here.
Yeah.
Getting our ideas across, talking, and just hearing each other's stories is like,
right.
And that's so important for people to know that people still want to have those conversations. This is dangerous, it's brave to come out here. Speaking of what you're doing right now,